We're at the crossroads with MDB, that's right. And we've been doing producers all week, and I would be very remiss not to include this gentleman as the last producer of the week. This Friday, we are going to honor and pay tribute to and draw attention to the extraordinary, mythic multiplicity of incredible achievements that little Steven Van Zandt has made. Now, he is my boss. That's right, he is my boss, and he did hire me to do this job, and that's true. And yet, let me tell you something, I've admired the man for decades. As I'm fond of saying, Steve Jones and I, in a band called Chequered Past, we opened for little Steven Van Zandt in the 80s when he went off on his offshoot, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. And he had those wonderful albums that he did, which were just groundbreaking in themselves, which we'll get into all of that, you know, all of the various facets of the multiplicity of this man's career. Ain't Bay Sunset. I wish I'd been on that. That's something we'll talk about. But we met him. We were on tour with the guy early 80s when he went off and did this thing, left the boss and did this. And it was an extraordinary meeting for us. We really, really loved him and believed in him. And now, hence, I'm here paying tribute to him, which is really overdue, and I'm so delighted to do it. This is a man who came from the Jersey Shore, New Jersey. New Jersey was the Liverpool of the United States, in my humble opinion. He stopped for effect. You know, because they had these amazing bands. Southside Johnny, the boss, obviously, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie. And there was a collection of guys there that were following the rock and roll tradition, whose, I think, template-setting sound was a wall of sound, but they created a rock and roll version of Phil Spector, kind of, didn't they, with the saxophones, but harder rocking, chrome, boardwalks, highways, freeways, bandanas, revenge, lust, joy, summer dresses, you name it. And then, of course, it went off into a more personal tangents, as we all do. We start with the sort of the joys and the freneticism of youth and the adolescence of rock and roll. I mean, Stevie and Bruce would come to New York and by train or bus, and they would arrive there and they would see the Animals or something and playing in New York City, in the city, and then they'd go back into a basement and they'd garage and they'd try and emulate the sound, the noise of rock and roll together. Now that's so inspiring. Captured in the movie Not Fade Away, by the way. Created by David Chase, of course, directed by him, and assisted, obviously, by Stevie Van Zandt, because he turned to him. Why? Silvio Dante, that's why. Because David Chase created The Sopranos. It's all so incredibly organic. There's such a wonderful authenticity to this whole story of his life. All of the, lightning struck thrice with this guy. First and foremost, in the very beginning, there it was, the birth of American rock and roll of a type that it hadn't seen yet, which was Southside Johnny, etc., Bruce, obviously, and Stevie. And then he went off into his own thing, and then he came back, and then he's an actor. Right? Then he's an actor. He's doing The Sopranos, and then he's doing Lilyhammer on Netflix, and then Little Steven's Underground Garage. Not necessarily in that order, but that's three. That's 3 strikes of lightning right there. Not 3 strikes, you're out. 3 strikes, you're alive and breathing and alive with the flame of rock and roll. And speaking of flames, it rhymes with fame, and he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, this year. Stevie Van Zandt is a member of the E Street Band. And I was thinking, of the song, all of the many songs. I mean, this guy, if we're talking producers, he's produced everybody from Gary U.S. Bonds to Michael Monroe. I mean, from a classic R&B soul singer to a beautiful androgynous rock and roll street guy, who Michael Monroe, by the way, who I love. Steve Conte is his guitar player, who we play a lot here. And I think the point I'm trying to make is loyalty, love, recognition of rock and roll's importance in our culture and the desire for it not to die. He's a flag-waving man. He's carrying a torch. He has done since he was a teenager. In the beginning, it was because it was his lifeblood. He says that the Beatles on Ed Sullivan was the most important thing he'd ever seen up to that point, and it changed his life, and his life continues to change in directions that are unimaginable. Right now, he's producing Darlene Love. That's right, he's doing Darlene Love. He's done it before, that Christmas song that he notoriously did, which was so beautiful and brilliant. The thing I think that I want to leave you with is the notion that he supports authenticity. That is, it is not about material success or even coolness, because you don't have to be cool. You don't have to try to be cool. You either are or you are not. Anybody that arranges the horns on 10th Avenue Freeze Out is cool, in my humble opinion. I mean, the albums that he's responsible for and co-produced and worked on very, very, very deeply were Darkness on the Edge of Town, The River, Born in the USA. I mean, I Am a Patriot is one of the greatest songs that we should be singing every day. It should be the new national anthem, especially at a time like this. So I am here to give props to this extraordinary man who has hired me to be on the little Stevens Underground Garage. I'm so grateful for it because it's brought a whole new tone to my life. And that is the tone of giving. It's not just receiving all the time. I mean, all these years I've spent doing, what he's done, which is entertain, essentially. Entertain in a way, in a 3-chord paradise. That's what we've done. And he's done it so successfully, and I am so proud of him. Anybody that has been married by Little Richard, officiating the ceremony to his beautiful wife, Maureen, is cool in my book. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Little Stephen Van Zandt on the Crossroads with MDB.